Welcome to Horrifically Well Read, Bled, and Said. It is such an exciting and special episode because we have our first second time guest that
Yes.
we talked to several months ago and invited back, and she decided she liked us enough and wanted to come back.
Mhm.
But we have today with us Donna Taylor, author of the San Nico series, and we had her on for book number one. And now we have book number two, Monsters in the Mountains. And welcome to the show, Donna.
Thank you for having me again. Oh, that's such an honor to be, like, your first repeat guest.
Yeah, my
Yeah.
first return guest. Love it.
Yes, yes. I feel like technically Wendy was on with Grace a second time,
For
but
the anthology, yeah.
that's not like the
You
same.
know,
This is months apart of like
solo.
a solo booking of like we
Yes.
were like, "Can you please come back from your first book?"
Yeah.
So,
Sorry, Wendy. This is the first solo gig
yeah,
back.
sorry, Wendy. But yes. But I got to tell you, I you just you I cannot believe what you just did to me with that book.
Yeah.
I guess is what I'm gonna start out with is saying is that I know I sent you my Goodreads review,
Uh-huh.
but genuinely felt like okay, book number 1 was fine. I didn't have any, like there was nothing, like, wrong. It was a nice book, wrapped up neatly, like, enjoyed it, all that stuff, and then I read this and I'm like, "Okay, that cover," like, I look at it differently now. I'm like, "That green is heavily possession. Oh, okay, this shit really goes down," and, like, I don't know what changed. I cannot wait to get into this with you because whatever changed between book 1 and book 2 it is like you did something to me where I'm like, I can't. I was genuinely freaking scared, and we were reading it at the same time because you sent us the books, and so I was a little further ahead of him, and I'm like, oh my god, and he's like, don't say anything to me, I don't want it out. And I'm like, I'm not gonna say anything, but it was genuinely thrilling and wonderful, and as I said to you, like I didn't know that you had this level of comedic, like, in yourself, and I was like, "Man, you have, like, this new, like, signature style that has come out where on the left side of the page, we're genuinely laughing and saying, like, 'That is so funny,' on the next page, we're like, 'What the fuck did she just do to us? Why did you do this?'" It was so much of emotions. You really got into the depth, so I'm so excited to talk to you about all this.
So it's a 2-star from her is what she's saying. So
Yay, kids on.
Sorry.
No, kidding. No, it's so great, totally great. So,
okay. Well, I wanted to ask, I guess, first to sort of like come back when Monsters in the Mountains comes out and sort of when this podcast most likely will come out, we're about 6 months from the release of Blood on the Boardwalk. And so before we really dive into book two, I just want to hear what's the response been like? How have you been enjoying sort of the release and now the amp up to the second one? What's it like having this series out there now?
It's like the release went better than I could have ever hoped. Like, no one knew who I was at the beginning of 2025, and I don't even know how many copies I sold at this point because I honestly can't really interpret Ingram Sparks' reporting, so I'm not sure ultimately how many copies I've sold, but it's in the hundreds, and, like, I was not expecting that of, like, just
congratulations.
this me no one has any idea who I am, and apparently I did something right with the marketing, you know? I threw shit at the wall and it stuck,
There you
apparently.
go, there you go.
Yeah, it's the response has been super, super positive, like, overwhelming. People seem to, like, really get what I was trying to do with the book and trying to make it this more, like, lighthearted kind of Fear Street thing, but, like, if you chose to look closer, there's depth
For
there,
sure.
and I could not be happier. So, it went really, really good.
The way Adam kinda said it last night, he was like, "Book 1 felt like it was like The Hobbit. Book 2 was like, okay, now we're getting into the intensity of The Lord of the Rings."
Yeah, it was definitely, yeah. I think that the stakes are higher,
Mhm,
the lore gets deepened so much.
mhm,
Still the characters you love, but,
But you love them even more.
yeah, and you put them through a lot of shit.
mhm.
Well, I was gonna say, it's almost like now, I know that it was like we're talking at, February, so there was Stranger Things and the finale just finished in December, so but I felt like the way that you become attached to the characters in Stranger Things and the way they work together with friendships and just they're willing to give their all and sacrifice themselves. That's what I feel like the character development was in this book too,
Mhm.
where you're just so they are full-fledged people to you now that you were really invested in, and it's deepened, right? Like, they're all fully fleshed out and just I think part of it is in book 1, Georgie is such a, um I mean, she's the adversary and she's really kinda mean, and we won't go into why that is, but in book 2, she's not, and I think she really helps the plot to just round out the trio of Connor and Jenna and Georgie, but the dynamics between that triangle and how you play with that, it was so much fun.
Yeah, Georgie did end up being my favorite character.
I really liked her. I
I
really
didn't
liked her.
set out to do that. She was always meant to just be, like, this mean girl foil in the first book, but as I kept writing her, and it's like, "Oh, no, there is way more depth to this character than I ever anticipated," and I just kinda rolled with it, and it worked out.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
gonna pull up my notes here because
Well, before we get into anything deeper, I just wanna say, like, for listeners that have read on the Boardwalk and listeners that are coming to it new, what's your, like, just, like, short pitch of the San Nico Slayers in general, and then now moving into Monsters in the Mountains? Because I know everyone hates to do this, but it also helps me to know, like, what you want us to know as we
Yeah,
talk about this,
yeah,
because there's a lot of surprises in this book, and I don't wanna spoil anything for anyone.
yeah, so, like, you're really putting me on the spot. So, the San Nico Slayers as a whole is if you're looking for a more modern day Buffy, Supernatural, that's really the overarching vibe that I'm going for, something a little more lighthearted, a little more entertaining as opposed to cerebral, but that brain food is still there if you so choose to read deeper.
for sure. And that's the truth of it is, like, it's as superficial and fun as you'd like it to be, and then there's so many themes underneath of layers if you want that too.
Mhm.
Yes, and so in the first book, our sort of trio kind of stumbles upon a very vampiric threat, and
Mhm.
now in the second book, they are learning to sort of almost become professionals in, defending sort of people from things that they don't know exist and shouldn't know exist, right?
Yeah.
And I remember that at the end of our first recording, you were like, "Oh, it's gonna get crazy, and there's gonna be so many other things," and you were just sharing about how you just vampires had already been, like, your thing for the longest, but, like, you weren't gonna stop there, and you were getting so much lore and fun. I again, part of my notes here, I wanna get into some of that too, but the book opens up with a personal part where Connor is spraying so much bug spray all over him that I was like, "That's my person. If they can eat me" now, like, I love conversely, I love being out in the woods, I love hiking, but, I mean, I have to have it everywhere, in my hair, and, like, wherever they can bite, they will,
Mhm.
even through the clothes. Oh, when they're like, "Really? Like, is that enough?" I'm like, "Let him be. This makes sense to me,"
They're
you
getting
know?
choked out in the car.
Now that part is true, and you have to spray it when you're outside because if it even blows back in your face, yeah, you're really coughing, and I
It
I
is a
do weigh the
special
risk for
kind of
that, yeah.
choke that bug
Yeah.
spray causes,
I
yeah.
know, and I try to go with, like, the all natural stuff and everything, but if you're, like, in the woods where a
Mhm.
lot of my favorite places to hike are, you really do need that higher level of DEET,
Yeah,
which means you're gonna
you need some lab created bug spray because that natural stuff is not cutting it.
You need the DDT.
Yes.
no,
Let's spray
seriously, you
it.
need high yes, high DEET level. I need to be but then it's like it does the reverse where, when it's so high of a level of DEET, then I feel sick and almost like I'm hanging onto an electrical fence of some sort where I don't my nervous system feels like, "Ugh," I just
Ah,
don't feel good, so
you poisoned yourself. Yeah.
yes, that's what I'm saying. Okay, good analysis there, read between the
Yes.
lines. So, it's always finding that balance. It's like more spray, less DEET, less spray, higher DEET. not get myself sick where I'm supposed to be out enjoying myself.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
So
I love that it's this drive that could be very, like, stressful because they have no idea what they're getting into, like, they know it's gonna be intense, right? That it's like this boot camp that they're going through, but the way that you know, put that levity into it, and then, I love this sibling rivalry where, like, Jenna's like Georgie's like, "You know what? If it run into a tree, so be it, I'm slapping the shit out of this kid," right?
Basically.
Do you have a sibling relationship similar to that?
I do not. I'm an only
Yeah.
child.
Yeah, that's right.
it is Georgie and Connor really give it back and forth to each other. And even though Jenna is not the sister, they've been close since what, 7 years old, that
Yeah.
they just
Yeah.
kind of operate as if they are triplets in a way.
Mhm.
And so anyways, they pull up to the top of the hill. They're kind of surprised, attacked, and this is at the beginning where your comedy starts, where the Connor's like, I think I just shit myself, and Mrs. Salt, and I was like, okay, I see what's happening here. Moving forward to where they have to put on their fatigues, and the girls, Jenna and Georgie, get to wear leggings, and Connor is asked to wear sweatpants, and he's like, "Why can't I wear leggings?" And they're like, "Because we don't want to see your ball sack in 3D."
Yeah.
And it is so funny, and there are so many scenes of it going back and forth with the leggings and sweatpants, and the section where it's like, "It was this, wasn't it?" And I loved it. It was so funny and good. Even just parts where you're saying, she's at camp. I never went to camp, but she's like, "I'm so glad that I brought shower shoes because this shower was built by athlete's foot. It's not
Yeah.
doesn't have it, it is built by it." It's just it was just so many parts that I just found myself giggling and really, really enjoying.
Yeah, so just, like, talk about that, like,
How yeah, what
I always wonder, like, when it comes to, like, the scary scenes and, like, the set pieces and stuff like that, like, comedy is really, like, very similar, and the flip side of that kind of, like,
you have said that for a long time.
how do you come up with, like, those like, set pieces where you're like, "Okay, they have to get these clothes and stuff like that," and then turn it into this, like, really, really funny, like, scene and then callback and stuff too, like, have you, like, been through a similar situation? Like, the idea of, like, Connor being like, "I wanna be stylish too," like, I just love that.
Like, I think I am a deeply unserious individual. So I tend to make jokes at completely inappropriate times. Like that's just where my brain tends to go. Um, but it's weird because on the adult side of my writing, I write very serious, like gothic, dark horror that does not have any comedy in it. And it's actually kind of hard for me to not insert comedy because, like, things are made so much better by a dick joke,
Yes.
Oh my
especially
god.
when you can loop it back to Labyrinth and actually get, like,
Adam literally said, "What a great Labyrinth
What a
reference."
labyrinth, like, that was
so, like, it's very natural for me to have these moments where you actually see the characters just being themselves and then just stomach punch them from with, like, the very real stuff that they're going
yeah.
through. Because I think
Yeah,
that's, like,
that's what I
ultimate.
felt like, stomach punched.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just because especially for young adult, I feel like the levity is more appreciated as well. Just I don't know. The young adult stuff that I always wanted to see had more levity in it, and when this was back probably so when did I actually write this? I think I wrote Monsters in the Mountains probably in early 2020, 2021. But on the boardwalk, I had started writing in 2017, I believe, and at the time horror was really disappearing from the young adult genre. Like it was starting to get hard to find on shelves and it was being replaced with a lot of these doorstopper fantasies. No shade to those fantasies. They have a place, they have readers, but they were edging out these shorter, lighter books and that's really what I was trying to get back to with what I was writing. I wanted those books that were lighter. So that's really where I'm
Like,
trying.
lighter in, like, weight, or lighter as in, like, because I didn't feel like the stakes were lighter in any way.
I mean,
I guess what I'm saying is, like, you did have that's why it's so difficult to explain it because at one part it is so light and it's whimsical and it's funny and it's like you said, it's as non-serious as you want it to be, but then there's so much on the other end if you really spend time with the characters, and I can't help myself but having that analytical mind or that,
And
feeling and
this
stuff,
book
and
gets really real in the 3rd act, I'll say,
yes, I'll tell you what, you are unapologetic about
Forget what it
every
was.
choice that you make in this book.
Yeah.
I guess I stopped you, Adam, and I was like,
Tell me when you get to page 228 or something. I
"Yeah,
forget which one it was.
218, 219, yeah." And I was like, "You know what you did, Donna. You don't have to check. You
what's
know."
page 2?
I just was like, "This is."
The shower scene, Donna.
Yes.
Yes.
There were
You're
several
welcome.
times I kept saying to Adam, like, "Are you sure this is YA? Because
Like,
this,"
oh,
and he's like, "Well, I think YA is more like 18 to 25."
like the characters make it,
No, but I
the
mean,
ages and
I
yeah.
guess when I hear YA, I was thinking more like middle grade, but
Yeah.
it isn't. Like,
No.
this hits 18 to 25 where, this was great. And I was saying to Adam, if I had never read Incidents Around the House, which had broken my through my hard stop if I wouldn't read about possession,
Mhm.
I wouldn't have been able to read your book. And I'm so glad that I could because I was able to fully enjoy it, plus all of my evangelical what is it, deconstruction.
Yes.
So I love how you tied in elements of evangelical. I mean, the religious horror in here is really second to none when you think about it. I mean, dealing with revivals and just the shady snake oil salesperson that comes
Mhm.
around. And I mean, I went to those things as a kid.
Really?
Oh, yes, absolutely. So when you're describing all this, and I'm like, God, I've been there. I've so been there.
I mean, it's funny because that wasn't always in the book. That's not what it was originally.
Okay.
Originally, I went back even farther in that area to a more indigenous storyline. And then when I had like a sensitivity reader take a look at it, they were like, don't write this. So that's where I just kind of removed that aspect of it and turned it into the tent revival. Because one, that was something that I knew more about and was more comfortable writing. So, yeah,
I feel like that leads me into I wrote down page 74 for La Ciguapa. And before that, you name another character or what do you want to say it? Like
a
an
being, like a
entity.
Like a
supernatural.
cryptid
A
folklore
cryptid,
kind of,
yeah,
yeah.
that basically has taken a lot of people away, and I was wondering what kind of research did you do for this? And we had read Vanessa Montalban's book for Vengeful Wishes, and she has a character called La Sigua, which is for the
Nicaraguan, which
Nicaraguan,
is a
so
very similar character that,
for the woman, but I
yeah,
don't remember there having, like, the backwards feet, and
which is
so
yeah.
it's very cool that this is, within this space that, um these entities exist. So I
Mhm.
wanted to ask you a little bit about your research for that. Did you have fun with it? What did you discover? Do you have a new favorite cryptid?
I didn't go too deeply into it. That was kind of my way of reminding people that everything exists in this world. Everything from every culture, from every piece of folklore exists. And just a reminder that the world is bigger than like vampires and ghosts kind of deal. So, despite the fact that the story did not focus on that and it was really just kind of a passing reference, that was my way of just a kind of a subtle reminder that there is much more to this world than
Yeah,
what I'm writing about. And
yeah.
yeah,
Now, I didn't do any research yet, but the concept of a revenant, is that a real thing or is that something you made up?
that's a real thing, and that's
Okay.
actually going back to, one of my inspirations for the series as a whole. It's a book called The Band by Carmen Adams. It's a young adult horror from, like, the '90s, from, like, the peak, the mass market paperback books, and they have revenants in their book, so that's where I got that specific storyline, so that was kind of like my nod to that piece of inspiration, but yes, revenants are a
Can
thing.
you can you explain what that is to the I don't wanna botch it.
Yeah, it's basically so they're more corporeal than ghosts. They kinda look and act like actual people, but in order to move fully into this plane of existence, they have to kill someone in order to replace them. That's kinda how the swap works. If you watch, it's an old, like, 90s TV movie, the Sometimes They Come Back. It's
Oh, yeah.
a Stephen King short
Mhm.
story. Those are
Yeah.
revenants. That's what a revenant is.
Um, and I wanna just pause for a minute because you said the band, and I'm like, "Hold on, wait a minute, you have an entire playlist at the front of this
Yeah.
book," to which I took the time to load into Spotify
Yep. We
and
listened as we
listened
read
on our
it, yeah.
headphones as we read separately to the music as we read the book. I love all these songs were so well known, but the choices of the artists that you selected for it fit the atmosphere and the mood of the book so well. And
Yeah.
how much time did you, find, did you already just naturally know of a In the Air Tonight that wasn't Phil Collins that fit this, or, did you have to dig?
So what, light bulb moment for me for the soundtrack for that was actually hearing the, Cobra Kai version of
Okay.
is it In the Air Tonight?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
yeah.
will.
Is hearing that and how it's, like, kinda dirgy, and I'm
Yeah,
like, that is the vibe for this book." And so
yeah.
I basically just plugged it into Spotify and, its little genius recommendation thing there, it
Yeah.
gave me even more remade, dirged up songs that fit
It was
that. I'm like,
Cruel
"This is
Summer that was the Cobra Kai one, I
Cruel
guess.
Summer." Yes.
Yes. Yeah, so but I mean, even songs that, I don't wanna listen to, waiting for that to come in for the air In the Air Tonight, it was so much more I don't wanna say like Evanescence because it wasn't like that, but it was just that
Mhm.
feeling of
The haunting.
yes,
Yeah, like,
and,
just the whole
the
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 Boys
Boys
of
of
Su oh,
Summer, I
man,
was
that
just gonna
version
say
of
real
Boys of Summer is beautiful.
yes, yes. Just a lot of
Even though
fun.
what is it? Isn't there, Dragula?
Yes, there is.
Yes.
Yeah, that Dragula, like, what the I was like,
By
"What?"
Lissy,
I was
yeah.
like, "I don't think I actually ever knew the words to this song until I heard this."
Yeah, it's just really fun. I felt like you thought of everything for this book of, okay, first of all, it's gonna look great. Second of all,
Mhm.
it's gonna have this playlist. Where the third, the cadence is gonna be so good. The characters are gonna be deep. It's gonna be funny. It's going to have this richly layered setting and plot. And on top of that, I'm gonna get you a book. I don't know why that's said. I apologize. Get to, I think meant to set my alarm for 6:30 a.m. and it rang at 6:30 p.m.
Oops,
How
hope you
great is
got
that?
up.
Yeah, I hope so. Why would I even have an alarm set for 6:30? I don't
Yeah,
know because I don't wanna see that time of day. I like to my optimum sleeping time is 2 a.m. to 9 a.m. That's really where I live.
yeah. I like to be awake from 10 to 10.
Yeah, you're a 10 to 10 guy
Yeah,
for sure, but
but I can't because of my job, but
yeah.
yeah.
But I just feel like you did the bookmarks that were amazing with the glow in the dark ghost and, just the whole framework of how you're setting it up. It's gonna be so fun to market this and just, readers just will I hopefully will appreciate, as you said earlier, I guess I'm a pretty good marketer. I think you're great at it. So
Mhm.
hopefully that, just these other things that you've placed into this will continue to
Yeah, and they just look incredible on
they
the shelf
do.
next to each other. I just
Didn't know we
I'm
had to be touching.
I'm obsessed with I just love how, like, a series when they look so, like, visually as also I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it does set the mood, so anyone when you get the book in the front, it has the soundtrack. I would highly recommend listening as you read it. One thing that I was thinking about when you talked about the sort of the way the character because it is very much like the lightheartedness and the humor comes from the actual characters and their
Mhm,
personalities, and this is kind of what they do. And I think you have this scene towards the beginning that is, like, really incredible, especially, like, as a teacher and dealing with, like, multiple generations and things like that when Vanessa, who's like the agency orientation supervisor, whatever you wanna
Coordinator.
coordinator, yes. She has this moment where, like, everyone's joking a little too much for what's about to be happening,
mhm,
and she has this thing where she has this talk with them that's like, "I get it. Everyone copes in different ways, like, we can understand that, but you have to take this seriously and you have to understand what's gonna happen." And I think it's this, like, really cool, like, moment of recognizing generational differences, but also sobering to say, like, you've got hell in front of you, and, you can laugh about it all you want, but if we see that you're not taking it seriously, you're gonna end up back out there with your mind wiped, kinda thing.
Yeah.
So I love that you had that in there because it was this real, like, sort of
Well,
reality moment that a lot of people have to get at this age to say, like, "Look, we don't want you to not be who you are, but there's a little growing up that has to happen now," right?
and then immediately Connor is like, "Do you need a paper bag?" Because he's hyperventilating from the amount of
Sheer amount that he knows he's gonna be having to work and learn.
well, no, I mean, I think it was he was overwhelmed by the
Oh,
history
yeah,
of the
Yeah.
amount of things that of
are
way
out
he's
there.
lived his life and that the sober and I think that does happen at your, like, early 20s that the world kinda beats you up a little bit,
Yeah.
and you think, "Okay, this veil of the protection of my
Mhm.
family or my
In a
right,
small town.
whatever," and I just think this was such a good scene of where
Yeah.
it's, "Are you gonna be okay?" And it's like,
Mhm.
"He's gonna be okay," but it's jarring, and you don't really think about that because as you're reading the book, you think, "These characters are here, of course
Yeah.
they're just gonna go and do this," so I
I
really
think
loved how you put this real human nature part of why wouldn't someone be horribly overwhelmed where you thought, "This would never be real.
it's like the idea
Learning too
that
much, too soon."
everything's gonna be okay, but it's never going to be the same again, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And that's kind of the balance that I was going for is this trying to be realistic with people's actions and their words and the scenario, but also doing my job as an author to continue to entertain the reader because that is the primary function of this book is to entertain you. And think I did okay doing it, like balancing it out like that. It's funny because when I first really started writing the agency and digging into that, my editors, both of my editors who do not talk to each other, both came back and said, I don't think you mean to do this, but you've made them incompetent. And what I'm really trying to do with the agency, and it's one of the like very deep underlying things that I'm addressing here, is like the bullshit of bureaucracy and just how, like, you are not going to know about that when you are 17, 18 years old. You're going to have to get to our age to be like, this is bullshit. And
Yeah.
like kind of sliding that underneath. And so like, this is kind of a combination of boarding school and the military kind of married, and
Feels
I
that
took
way.
both of
Perfect.
that from my husband, who has been to both. He'd actually he went to Valley Forge in wherever that is. It's not actually in Wayne. It's in Wayne, Pennsylvania. So he attended there. So some of the like, the shower sandals and, like, some of that is from him, from his experiences, and then when I got that feedback from my editors about the agency, I went to him like, "Steve, I need books on, like, basically black budget and spook organizations." Like and he's like, "Hold on." He came out with a stack of books like this big, and
Wow.
I actually only read one. I read, oh, crap. It's by Pete Flabby, The Mission, the Men, and Me, and it's literally just about his time in,
I
I
just
think, the
appreciate that
SEAL
you're
team.
having this moment because anytime, almost anytime for like the last 10, 12 years, probably longer than that, that every time I try to think of a word, I can be like, it's round, it's made of bread, you put
Right.
cream cheese on it, you toast it. But for the life of me, I can't find the word bagel.
Mhm,
Will
yeah,
not come. It's like,
yeah,
good luck. Which I
yeah.
realize now is ADHD for me. Like I can't that or low blood sugar, I'm not sure. It seems to strike worse when it's that but I have a fellow research guy here who can't help himself.
Yeah, I'm trying to look up,
He's
but I'm
gonna
not doing well.
And that's actually where I got the NDA scene. Like, because
That's
Oh,
awesome.
originally, I was like, "Yeah, they, like, just go out and, if you fail, they kill you," and my husband was like, "Do you understand the paperwork that would go into like, the absolute truth, they would not be able to do that. They would just torture you in court for eternity." And
yeah.
when I started reading The Mission, the Men, and Me, like, literally the first thing that these, like, ultra mega special forces dudes do is sign an NDA. It's so mundane and so beige, bureaucratic, corporate, like, I read that and my hair was just blown back, like, "What do you mean they just sign NDAs?"
Yeah,
And
because you
it's
don't even
so
know what you're
boring,
getting into yet, right? Like, you're just kind of sign away your rights and your ability to
and it's just
and then it's like,
that's how they
sign
silence
now,
you.
fine later.
The ominousness of we're not gonna kill you because of how much of a pain in the ass it would be for us to do it. Like, that it's like, I mean, we would, but that's a lot of
Would, but
paperwork. Like,
it's too
instead
much, man, I'm
ooh,
sorry. Yeah,
I yeah,
so, like, that's where a lot of those little details come from is just, like,
Love it.
it's
yeah,
really so boring, and it's really so bureaucratic, and I don't know if people are going to pick up on that as it goes on because I try to incorporate more bureaucratic bullshit, but again, it's still a book for teenagers, so I can't incorporate it too much, but for adults reading it, like, that's kind of part of me bringing them into the book and being like, "Oh, yeah, that sucks. Yeah, that's yeah."
Yeah. Well, I definitely feel like that comes through because at some point, everything flips and it feels like the characters have to make their own choices and they're not really, but I did enjoy Vanessa as a character and how kind of approachable but strict and there, but kind of what you're saying is like their figurehead. I saw this meme the other day that said Republicans might do something that is like, yeah, we're gonna do XYZ. And it's like, and instead of Democrats actually doing anything, they're gonna set up a commission to talk about the things that are happening with XYZ. And I was like,
Yeah.
that's kind of what I felt like from your book of, well, we should have done this and we should have done that. We could have done this and we could have done, and oh yeah, well, we thought this, we thought, and I don't want to give anything away, but I
Yeah.
do think you did a good job of none of this shit really had to happen. And these people that were in charge are they negligent? Are they just stupid? Are they just comfortable? I guess there's a lot of things you could think about. But when we talk about different characters, the moment that I read that you're like, oh yeah, Mags and a librarian, I was like, I'm gonna love this character. I've already
say,
decided. I mean, I read her name. I'm like, she's gonna be a favorite.
let's take a moment to just appreciate the majesty that is Mags.
I love her. I love her. Parts of it.
I
And
want an action figure.
yes,
I want
She is actually based on a real person. I know, she's the only character that I have ever written who is actually consciously based on someone I know.
well, she is amazing, and I just love that, it's like her, her stirring spoon
spoon,
is
yeah.
just her weapon. It was just, one of those people that when you say that, a lot of times we've talked about books, who can you actually go to and ask for help? And she
Mhm.
was actually someone that was helpful the whole time, tried and true, and did her best, and was honest, for the most part about her limitations and things, but just would believe them and was a safe space, and never felt like she was duplicitous in any way, which was
Yeah.
great.
I think the moment she said, "I'm Giles and the Slayer put together," I was like, "I will follow you into any battle that you ever have." Like, so it was so cool. I love that she is young, but feels wise and kinda has the
Very.
wisdom of generations.
Mhm.
I know that you said she's based on a person. Is this like a librarian or is this like
Yes, yeah.
yeah, so like what is that how did that like relationship come about and like when was that moment when you're like, "You're going in this damn book?"
Let's see, I have known her for, like, 20 years or so, and we met in the Lost Boys fandom online, and, like, I've met her in person, we've actually vacationed together and stuff like that, so I knew I wanted to put her in this book somewhere, I just wasn't sure where. So when this opportunity arose as I was writing the story, I'm like, "That's it. That's the perfect character for her." So, yeah.
She was just gloriously.
Mhm. Right.
We're gonna do this so fast. In
Right.
about a day or 2, we'll get back to you, and it's just like the different timelines that like things work on. And honestly, like when you look at what happens, in this 3rd act, it's like the kids are right. Like something has to be done right now,
Right.
or people are going to suffer. And that's, what happens because of it. And I love that sort of like, that tension between like, I'm seeing this, you're seeing this, and you're like, oh, we're gonna have this committee talk about what needs to be done next. and the frustration that comes from that, right?
Welcome
So
to the
we
real world.
yep. When we talk a little bit about things being as deep or as light as you want, I wanted to talk about Georgie's level of perfectionism
Mhm.
and the relationship with her mother, and much mother seems to antagonize her even in the first book and then into the second one, but how much she just excels in what she's doing there out of just really pretty much pure spite, and just the perfectionism that you can feel altogether of having to be the student that raises their hand the fast, studies the best. I definitely felt like I was that kid for all those things. And not that my mother was calling me like a whore or anything like Georgie's mom, but it just felt like that was a level of exploration. So where did this come about? And when you said you didn't expect her to maybe be as deep. So how did this I feel like she really bared her soul from being this person that was so selfish in book 1 and weaponized her words to then basically saying to Jenna, like, "You owe me." And Jenna herself, like, setting a boundary and saying, "No, I don't. You actually owe me." And I felt like that was a great lesson for kids to just be vulnerable, but then also to show how you can still love someone and care for them, but set the boundary and say, like, "No, I'm gonna hold you accountable for how you treated me like shit, like, more than shit for the
For
past 4
years.
years."
Yeah.
And that doesn't invalidate how bad you're feeling at this moment and the things that have happened to you, but we can share this space because we were both wronged in different ways. So I thought you really struck that wonderfully. So anything you'd wanna share about that scene or creating that depth?
I mean, I think Georgie is just one of those characters that, like, really kept knocking at my head that there was more there, and, this is where I'm gonna plug my newsletter because if you sign up for my newsletter, you actually get a Georgie story that is set that will kind of put things into much bigger perspective. It was just a piece of her world that just did not fit anywhere in the story that I really wanted to write, and it really showcases Georgie's guilt about the situation, her guilt about not being able to stand up to her mother, to choose the path of least resistance for her, and it I wanted to give her more depth than I was able to give her in the books. Because even though she is, like, kind of a 1A character as opposed to a secondary character, she still does not have the time on page that would allow me to go more into that, and it's first person, so I'm only operating within Jenna's perspective for most of the time. So yeah, I do a lot out of spite. It's how I keep writing. So when people tell me, "No, you can't do that," I go, "Fuck you. I'm going to do it and I'm going to do it
Good for
well."
you.
And
Good for you.
so that's where a lot of her spite comes from and just she has this freedom now that she's basically like, "You can't touch me anymore."
Yep.
And
Yes.
he is just, like, leaning hard into it, and she's basically making up for lost time because, 4 years for us is nothing. 4 years for someone who is only 18, quite a bit. So she's making up for lost time, and she is putting her life on a path of her choosing.
Yeah. I really feel like she's stepping into this power. I wanted to ask you, in book 1 and book 2, you had this moment of writing. I know you're saying you're staying in first person, but you're able to bring out these points of wisdom. And I think it was on page 301 to page 302 where you're talking about basically Jenna being really angry with her parents. And you're just like, look, your parents are just like humans. You just try to do the best that they can. And, they really, and she's like, yeah, but it wasn't the right choice. And it's like, I mean, I'm really, really loosely paraphrasing here because it was beautiful how you wrote it. And, being that we have a 23-year-old and a 13-year-old and then have had the exchanges in between, you realize, man, your parenting style changes a lot and you would do things very differently and you would make different choices and lots of factors go into that. And I just wondered, like, how do you how do you know that? Like, where people say, "How does a man write a woman so well and have that female experience?" I'm like, "Okay, are you a parent that you have had this, or how do you have these nuggets of wisdom?" As I'm sitting here going, like, "Well, that really was a balm for my heart that I needed to hear and would love for," because I think that's the fact that when you're a kid, you think your parents are parents and they are superhuman and they know everything, and you realize they are just people that have aged a little bit longer than you. And there's a lot of forgiveness in that and a lot of responsibility. But I think you have to get to a certain age till you feel that way. And I was wondering how you were able to know these things and to deliver this level of wisdom. Where did this come from?
I mean, a lot of it is my own experiences, because I think we all, like you said, eventually have that moment where we wake up and we realize that our parents are just people. And because they're just people, they make people decisions. And a lot of that is through my own, like, deconstruction of things. So I want her to recognize from the parent's perspective that, like, you don't have a crystal ball when you first have kids. You have no idea what the future is going to hold. So you're just trying to make the best decision that you can in that moment with the information that you have. How that pans out, though, is anyone's guess, and it doesn't always pan out good. And I wanted to give Jenna her ability to also sit with that, because I didn't want her to be in a position where you are required to forgive your parents. No.
Right.
Like, that is not a requirement. And I do explore this relationship a little more in the next 2 books because, like, it is very difficult. It is very difficult to learn that your parents are just people and they make people decisions and they have people feelings, and those feelings can be very messy because we are human. And being able to cope with that dynamic can be very difficult. And you have to marry these, like, this decision that you made hurt me really badly, but I also still love you as a parent, but I kind of can't look at you right now. And, like, how do we operate with that? And also keeping in mind that she is still only, at this point, still 17. So trying to stay, I didn't want her to be too wise because you a lot of 17-year-olds just do not have that particular
Right.
wisdom, and I don't wanna insert myself too much into that. So, it was really just, like, so many things in writing, just a
Well,
balance
it
it.
was I feel like you can look at the relationship that Jenna's had with her parents, and as Jenna's parents are like, "Okay, I made this decision this many years ago. I did the best choice at that time." And then as each little element added in and each thing changed and escalated from Jenna's point of view, it's like, "What the hell is wrong with you? How could you have d" I feel like both things can actually coexist, and I think that that's what you showcased well, and just me I guess I would hope where, Rami's like, "Just don't be mad too long." You can be mad and whatever, but it's like, at the end of the day, it might end up not that it's a requirement to forgive in any way, but you might realize that there's more, or, like, maybe just the intention that her parents didn't do this with malice. But when I was talking to this with Adam, he's like, "Man, they really fucked her over, like, they really fucked her over. She is right to be mad." And I'm like, "I get it," because as we watch in hindsight, it's like, "Well, this messed up, and this messed up, and this messed up," but then when you think about when they first made that decision, as it really sets the entire series of this book in motion, all of them, it came from a good place. It came from a place of protection
Yeah.
and making the best choice they could at that time. So, yeah, again, it says you kept it light and fun, and other people that didn't wanna have that life experience or think about those words, they might have just read right through it and it meant nothing to them. But to me, I thought that there's the level of depth. And again, with the mental health stuff and the things with the mom and how she's like, she can't wait to find out, like, Georgie, like, what are the next steps for her? And it's just, there's this freedom and autonomy. And it's this, you really capture that season in life where you're no longer really under that thumb, or you're just coming out from under your parents' thumb and you can start making decisions yourself. It's a lot of power and a lot of autonomy, and I feel like in this book, it's kinda like, "Go slow. Do it," but it's a lot.
I
A lot
think
more than you think it's gonna be.
you said with Georgie too that, like, 4 years is a long time when you're 18, right?
Yeah.
But it's like for Jenna, she spent over a decade kinda thinking she's crazy, right?
Sort of. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, because of a decision her parents made, right? And
Mhm.
so, like, I can only imagine, like, her whole life has been basically
You wouldn't talk to your parents about this is
but
what I'm
her
trying to say. You'd be like,
I'm just
"Fuck
saying,
them."
like,
Yeah.
she was very lucky to get a best friend like Connor and things like that, but ultimately, they chose that she's gonna be an outcast for her entire childhood,
Mhm.
and maybe they didn't 100% know that, but that's what happened, and then at some point, they realized that and kind of had a decision to make again to say, like, "Okay, do we do something about it?" And they said, "No, we're not going to." And ultimately, it put her in more harm than it did help her.
Mhm. Yeah.
So I think at least 1 book's worth of shunning them is more than deserved. So don't answer those text messages, Jenna. They can
She did
worry about
yeah, and she didn't have
it.
to. Yeah, and I think that's the balance, like, we don't give Jenna the time to be pissed. She needs that space.
Yeah.
And I know that's hard from a parent's perspective too,
Not to
but
mention she's very busy at this camp. There's a lot going on.
this is
So
true, this is true. Um, and then just back on, like, a little bit of a lighter note, I just wanted to tell you how much I hate burpees and how you incorporated that, just
how does burping get like I'm like,
Yeah, like, I don't understand what
yes.
why is
yes,
he
and I was
burping?
like, "Oh," like, we're clearly listening to Thunderstruck for this, and it's
Yes.
just it just felt like you really created a wonderful world. I mean, it's one of those that as soon as well, actually, when we got to the end, I felt this, like, warmth come in my chest, and I finished, like, maybe 6 pages ahead of Adam, not far, like, because we
Yours, yeah, a few
just a
pages.
little bit, and I was like, "If you don't get to this page and you don't feel this, like, gush of warmth, like, then I don't know if we read the same book." And I was like I immediately had that feeling where you're like, "Start the next episode," and it's like, there is no next episode, there's
You
just
gotta wait
wait
6
for book
months.
yeah, so, as we come to the top of the hour here, when can I expect this to come out, Donna? Because now I'm like I just felt like you rose to the top of one of my favorite authors that I'm reading, and it's kinda like if you when it comes out, I'm so ready to read it because it just was the world that I wanted to live in, where it was a mixture of the light and the dark and the elements that you put in here. I mean, really disturbing actually. Before I get into the book here, I want to say that there is a scene here that I was saying to Adam, I'm like, there's no way I could watch this on film. I'm such a like
Again oh, the
weenie when it comes
okay.
to it. The first one where we're like, "Oh, no, she didn't. Oh, yes, she did." And I would have to, like, cover my eyes, and I don't think I could do it. I think it would be too but in the way you wrote it, it was like, wow, she's got a bit of a she's not afraid to go there with the gruesomeness, with
There's a little more
shower
gore
scene.
in this one, right?
This would be the first time that we realized just how far Connor is,
Yeah.
and you're just like, I mean yeah, I kind of felt like you took the air out of my chest, like I was and even though it just was a moment of, wow, I did not know that this book was gonna be doing this, but here we are.
And I think, like, overall, I just wanna get your take on, like, you make ghosts scary in this book. Like, I think that, ghosts a lot of times are tragic and sad and all these kinds of things, and, you have 2 sort of main ghostly things, girls, in this book, and they're both scary as hell in their own ways. Like, one is really sad, but when I think about actually seeing that ghost, I would be really scared, because just how she's described it, and then the other one is just that unsettling, like, "Stop looking at me, like, what are you doing?" Like, I just the idea of looking out the window and smiling, I'm like, "Stop it,"
I know, and I'm
and I
thinking
love that.
from the original Parent Trap where the cabin has all these wide open windows and they're just
Ugh,
screen netted, so I'm thinking, like, she can't really hide.
no.
In the way I'm envisioning the book, like, she just can't get away from this ghost. It's not like, "Well, just pull the window down," or whatever. I mean, even though it's outside, it's like she sees it and it sees her, and
And,
it
like,
is
no
just
matter
it's
what,
just
every
happening.
time she's going back and forth, or when she's in the cabin, or when she's going back and forth, she's gonna be there, and it's just like, you're just gonna have to deal with it, and I'm like, "I'd rather not, thanks." Where did those images for those ghosts come into mind, and, like, just sort of your take on ghosts in this world that, Jenna can see?
So that's my Stephen Gamble influence. So he's the illustrator for the scary stories, the original. scary stories. So that's
Yes.
those are the kinds of ghosts that I have in mind, and I set it up in Blood on the Boardwalk where you do have the 2 different kinds, the ones that kinda just look whole and just like kinda people, but ghostly, and then you have the nightmare fuel ghosts. But, like, the woods are one of my own fears, so I decided to dig into that one.
Too.
And
Me
then
too. I was
one of
yeah,
my
it really
favorite
spoke to me.
kinds. Huh?
When you said the woods are one of my fears, I'm like, "Me too," even though I like hiking in them and whatever, but I'm like, anytime it's a wooded related story, it was actually once we finished, I was like, "Man, I really like a wooded possession story," like, that's been my jam lately.
Those moments when the woods go quiet and you're like, "Oh, shit." Like, you nail that really well.
Yeah, yeah. And then another one of my favorite kinds of horror is, like, the stuff that exists in the corner of your eye that you don't know if it's, like, in your head or outside of it, and I actually had written a completely separate, like, short story that played with that, with, like, the things crawling out from, like, in the corner of your eye, and I incorporated that in here
Yeah,
to the possession element, and I
yeah.
really
I
like
truly hated that, and it
Yeah,
was
you did.
wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah, you did. You definitely made a special time to remark about that.
Yeah.
Sure did.
Yeah, not eye stuff bothers me
Yeah,
in
it
the way
does.
that you did. I mean, just her saying, "I see a black spot, that's my retina detaching." I was like, "Why'd you have to say that?" Like, now I see them everywhere. Every time I look around, I'm like, "I see all these floaters." My
these
retina.
floaters.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's the thing is in fact, when I was, like, grimacing so much and our exchange student was sitting across from me, and she won't read, like, really any books in, English, like, she's read, like, 2 of the stuff, and so she but when she hears me, she's like, "What's happening here?" And Adam's like, "I can hear you." I'm like,
turn up that music.
yeah, and that's disgusting, and I'm like, "I know, it's so good." Like, she's like, I think part of the reason I wanna read a book is I feel like I can't create the imagery in my mind enough,
Mhm.
and I think you do that. There's really nothing that you do such a good job that I just really felt like I was there. I didn't have to strain to
Thank
think what is happening and where and how does all this feel. So okay, so you we want you to answer the question of when the next book comes out, and then we want you to replug your newsletter because I know I need to get that next story.
So the next book, Girls in the Graveyard, I don't have an exact date yet. It's either going to be late August or early September. And that one is set in Salem at Halloween. It's my personal favorite out of the entire
Okay.
series. So, and then my newsletter, you can sign up for that on my website at authordonnataylor.com. It'll take you to a Substack and a couple of little freebies that you get. One is from Georgie's perspective. So both are set, no, I'm sorry. Georgie's is set during Blood on the Boardwalk. So basically, if you haven't read the first book yet, like plug your ears when Georgie starts turning into a vampire. So it's that. And then the second one is actually the story of how Jenna got those things in her memory to begin with.
Really want to know those things. That's so
Mhm.
fun. I think that's a fun marketing thing too, because it keeps your fan base engaged as they're waiting for the next book. And it's some of those things that you're more curious about, but you didn't get to write it out yet. So that's a
Yeah,
lot of
that maybe
fun.
didn't fit, that maybe, like, you had to, like, edit out, but you really like and want it to exist
Yeah.
somewhere, so,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So we know that your husband is looking forward to you making Stephen King money. So we are supporting you and we hope everybody else continues to pre-order and support. I feel like this could easily be adapted for where you're going here to a television series that is just cinematic and
Mhm.
beloved. I really hope that happens for you because I would watch the hell out of it.
Yeah,
It was
might have to
so
close your eyes for certain parts.
I would. I'm not gonna lie, I would. But it was so good. I mean, I'm ready. It's one of those like I haven't felt like that for a cliffhanger for a book where I'm like, oh my God,
Mhm.
I can't wait. So thank you for doing that. Thanks for creating that. Thank you for helping me to be ensorcelled, right?
And Sorsa.
And I was reading, I'm like, what is that word? Ensorcel. I've never seen that word. I don't know that word. So I like looked it up and I was like, okay, new word. Thanks for teaching that to me. So that's totally like half entranced how am I saying that? Like magically like enraptured.
Mhm.
So, yeah, I was exactly that.
Yeah.
So join us and become ensorcelled yourself.
Yes.
Read book 1 if you haven't, and pick up book 2, and, just have a ball with it, and really, I mean, that girls in Salem in August, September, it starts getting busy in Salem at that time
Yep.
anyway, so it's, like, perfectly timed
We'll just
for reading. You're gonna love it, and you'll have something to
Mhm.
really look forward to in 2026 when maybe there's not a lot of other things.
you got 2 great books to look forward to in 2026.
Mm.
We'll just keep a standing date every 6 months,
Yeah, we'll
right?
let you know. We'll see you back here in a little bit because 'cause I'm sure I'm gonna have more questions. And
Thank you so much, guys. I
thank you for
appreciate it.
everything you're doing, and I'm so glad that we got to meet you last September and just, if people don't know your name yet, they will because what you're doing is really
Yeah.
it's
These
tremendously
are great
fun.
books,
They
yeah.
are great books. They really are.
So
All right. Well, you have a wonderful night. Thanks for your time. Okay. Bye-bye.